beautiful fancy raisin machine. I told you. What I told you that I showed
I'm too short. I'm gonna run out of time. I was just saying be in that dope.
I was gonna say.
Oh, really? Nice.
The idea of this course is not to lecture, it's about you, not us. But on the theory of helping and showing and then allowing you to do, what we're going to do each night for the first couple of nights is demonstrate some of the skills that you will then do the next morning to give you a quick flavor of some of the things we're talking about. Okay? And what we're going to do this afternoon, in the spirit of Irving Younger, is start with the finish. We're going to start with a closing, a short closing, a segment of a closing in the beer case. Jonathan Rosenthal is going to do that closing, and our judge is going to be Justice Sean Nakatsuru. Okay? One thing we haven't done, though, is impanel the jury. I need 6 volunteers, please. Okay, I'll take that table. Could you 6 please come up? Ladies of the jury. We've worked hard at this. Justice Nakatsuru, it's your courtroom.
Yes, thank you, Counsel.
I am, Your Honor. What happened outside the store was not what happened inside the store. And what happened inside the store was not what happened outside the store. Inspector Beer saw Watkins as he stumbled across the street and up to the entrance outside the wine store. Dan Jones saw Walter Watkins as he walked into the store and up to the counter inside the liquor store. Jones only saw Watkins when he was inside the liquor store. He never saw him when he was outside the liquor store. Beer did not see what Jones saw, and Dan Jones certainly did not see what Inspector Beer saw. But more importantly, Dan Jones did not know what Inspector Beer knew. And that's why, ladies of the jury, neither Dan Jones or Shallow Guy Wines is guilty of the offense with which they've been charged. Now, the document that sets out the charge alleges that Dan Jones and Shallow Guy breached Section 33 of the NIDA Liquor Control Act. And that section makes an offense to knowingly sell intoxicated beverages to an intoxicated person. And all we really need to concern ourselves in this case is that the law says that no one can knowingly sell beer, wine, liquor, or any other alcohol to someone they knew or ought to have known was intoxicated. Now, in this case, Beer and the Crown say that Dan Jones sold wine to Walter Watkins. And even Justice Nakatsuru will say that T-Bird is a wine of sorts. And the Crown also says that Watkins was intoxicated at the time he sold the wine to Dan Jones. And that Dan Jones knew or ought to have known that Watkins was intoxicated by alcohol. Now, Dan Jones has made this case very simple for all of us. He doesn't deny selling wine to Watkins. He just doesn't know. He knows Watkins, and he knows that Watkins is an alcoholic. But it was a busy night. He was working alone. He made a number of sales. What he does know is that he did not sell any wine to anyone who he thought or even suspected was intoxicated. So the only issue in this case is whether Dan Jones knew or ought to have known that Walter Watkins was intoxicated when he sold him the wine. Or more accurately, whether the Crown has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Dan Jones sold wine to Watkins when Dan Jones knew or ought to have known that Watkins was intoxicated. Now let's start with the Crown's first claim that Dan Jones knew Watkins was intoxicated. There's no evidence to support this contention. Now the Crown might try to remind you of Inspector Veer's evidence when he pulled out this diagram and he showed that Walter Watkins walked across from the lamppost into the store. And remember, he told us how Watkins staggered and he stumbled and he almost fell down. And that was all outside of the liquor store. It was all here, from that corner to the front door. But what he told us was that before Watkins actually walked into the liquor store, he straightened himself up. That's what he said. You all remember that. He said he straightened himself up before he walked into the liquor store. And then he told us he could see across the road. Remember, he could only see from the shoulders up because there was advertising obstructing his view. But what he told us was inside the liquor store, not once did he ever see Walter Watkins stumble. Not once inside the liquor store did he ever see Walter Watkins stagger. No, he didn't tell us that. Why? Because he didn't see it. What he told us was that before he went into the liquor store, he straightened himself up. And then when he was in the liquor store, he walked in, as he said, in a perfectly normal manner. In a perfectly normal manner, he walked up to Dan Jones in the counter. Why? Because Watkins was an alcoholic. We all know that now. And he knew as an alcoholic that if he even looked a little bit drunk, he wasn't going to get served by Dan Jones. He wasn't going to get the wine that he came in the store to buy. And that's why before he went into that store, he did everything he could to make sure no one would even suspect that he looked drunk. And that's why he straightened himself up. And that's why everyone agrees, even Inspector Veer, the trained investigator, the 8-year investigator with the Nita Liquor Commission, who was watching Walter Watkins' every single move from the time he saw him at that lamppost to inside the store, was looking at him inside the store. He agreed, inside the store, none of that staggering, none of that stumbling, none of it. Inside the store, everything Walter Watkins did was perfectly normal. Is that about 10 minutes, Carter? I'll stop there.
Thanks, Jonathan. So, first of all, and good teaching technique would now be to turn to our jury and ask them to reflect on this, and we will do that on in a couple days from now. But one thing, a couple things I do, we're moving quickly so that we can get people out of here, but I do want to have one quick, any immediate reflections from Jonathan's presentation. Yes?
A lot of good repetition.
Sorry?
Just repeated the difference from outside and inside enough times that it could be visuous.
You said beat it into.
So to speak.
Good. And that, I think, is one of the key facts. In terms of, I think, 4 things that I wanted to notice, one of which you just said. The first is, this was not a chronology. It was not simply going from the story beginning to end. I did not hear a chronology. What we did hear were facts. And we heard the facts and then leading to conclusions that Jonathan drew out in his examination earlier in the trial. But they weren't any facts. They were the facts that were needed for the charge. So he covered the key points that he needed in the charge. And those, again, were the ones that we elicited in the examination. So when you're preparing tomorrow, what am I supposed to cover? Think about what is it that I'm trying to achieve, work backwards, and get those facts. We also heard about the repetition from Unger. We heard it again. If it's repeated, people start to believe it. Another thing I heard was the idea of modulation. And you were working on modulation today. Inside the store. Outside the store. different theories of the case, modulating and using that to great effect, I think, with the jury. Jonathan, any comments you want to make?
No.
All right. Yes, of course, I forgot the most important person in the room, other than the jury, is our judge.
I was just impressed, Jonathan, you do a lot now.
Anything you want to say about the form? You're going to hear, we're going to focus more on the form of openings and closings again later in the week. What this was designed to do was to help give a flavor of where you're going, to give you a sense of how do you choose what you're going to cover in your direct and cross. Okay? Thank you very much, ladies of the jury. Now, the second demo is going to be a very short demonstration to highlight the importance of open-ended questions, non-leading questions, in direct examination. The third demonstration is going to be a set of direct and cross. But before we get there, I'm going to do a quick demonstration on what we think of as the important value of open-ended questions. So I need 2 more volunteers, this time to play the role of witnesses. You don't have to know any facts. Yes, please? Anyone else from this side of the room? Thank you. No, you're not allowed to come up. Thank you. Please come up here. And I'm going to get you to both sit at the witness table. So your name is? Jim Patrick. Jim? Yeah. And your name is? Yeshona. So what I'm going to do now is do 2 examinations. And it's a simple little case that I've stolen from Jonathan Rosenthal to develop this exercise. He would do it better, but I'm going to do it now. This is a case about a stolen afternoon cookie. Jim and Yashoda are law clerks in the office of Justice Sean Nakatsura. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Justice Nakatsura's afternoon cookie and tea was just delivered. He stepped out for 5 minutes, and the 2 law clerks remained in the office. Nakatsura comes back, cookie's gone, one of them ate it. It's a big offense in NITA. So, here are the 2 examinations. Jim, you're up first. Now I'm going to take you to that day that you were just describing, the afternoon in Justice Nakatsura's office, and you told us that both you and Yoshida were there.